She said it was a work trip but didn't know. I had the tapes and played it on the big screen. During her award ceremony after she came from the trip, she thought she had it all planned out. A perfect excuse, a flawless alibi, and a career milestone to celebrate. But what she didn't know was that I had the tapes. Every lie, every betrayal, captured, time-stamped, undeniable. And what better place to reveal the truth than at the very moment she was basking in her biggest achievement? In front of her colleagues, her bosses, her friends. I pressed play. I, James Williams, and my girlfriend, Rosie Williams, 25 and 24, were the couple people envied. The kind of love that looked effortless from the outside. Rosie was ambitious, driven, and always had big dreams. And me? I was her biggest supporter. I worked overtime to make sure she never had to worry about finances. Late-night shifts, extra projects, anything to help her focus on her career. She had talent, no doubt about it, and I wanted her to shine. I remember the nights Rosie came home exhausted, complaining about office politics, about how she needed to prove herself in a male-dominated industry. I'd sit with her, listen, reassure her that she was meant for greatness. She believed in herself because I believed in her. And when Rosie got nominated for that prestigious award, we celebrated like it was a shared victory, because in a way, it was. So when Rosie told me she had to leave town for a mandatory work trip right before the ceremony, I didn't question it. Why would I? I had never doubted her before. But doubt has a funny way of creeping in when the truth is right in front of you. So when she told me she had to leave town for a mandatory work trip right before the ceremony, I didn't question it. Why would I? I had never doubted her before. But doubt has a funny way of creeping in when the truth is right in front of you. At first, there was no reason to suspect anything. Rosie had always been dedicated to her job, sometimes even working late into the night. I knew the pressure she was under, so when she told me about the mandatory work trip right before the award ceremony, I didn't think twice about it. But something was different. The first thing I noticed was her tone. Rosie was always excited to share her work experiences with me, what deals she was working on, which clients were giving her a hard time. But this time, she was vague. She told me it was a corporate retreat, some kind of high-level strategy meeting with the company's executives. "I'll be busy most of the time," she said, "so don't be upset if I don't text or call much." That was the second red flag. We had spent years together, and no matter how hectic things got, she always found time to check in, even if it was just a quick, "I miss you." But now she was setting the expectation that I shouldn't hear from her at all. I brushed it off. Maybe the schedule was packed. Maybe she just didn't want the stress of keeping up with messages while trying to impress the higher-ups. But doubt has a funny way of creeping in. The night before she left, we had dinner together. She was distant, distracted. She barely touched her food, her eyes glued to her phone. Her phone. It buzzed constantly. Each time she'd glance at it and then flip it over, screen side down. "Who keeps texting you?" I asked, half joking. She smiled. A forced smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "Just work stuff. Everyone's scrambling to get ready for the retreat." I nodded, pretending to believe her. But my gut told me something was off. Then, the biggest red flag of all. She was packing her suitcase, carefully folding her clothes, when I walked in. She didn't hear me at first. Her phone was in her hand, and she was typing furiously. I saw the look on her face, soft, almost nervous, a look I hadn't seen in a long time. She hit send and immediately deleted the message. That's when she noticed me. She jumped, clutching her phone like a lifeline. I raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" She forced another smile. "Yeah, just making sure I have everything I need." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that moment stuck with me. Why would she delete a message if it was just work-related? Why did she look guilty? I didn't press her on it. Instead, I kissed her goodbye the next morning and watched as she walked out the door, rolling her suitcase behind her. She thought she had everything covered. She had no idea what was coming. But I did. The first day she was away, I tried to push my doubts aside. I told myself I was overthinking, that I needed to trust her. But trust is a fragile thing. Once cracks appear, they don't go away. They spread. By the second day, something felt off. Normally, Rosie would send at least a quick update, maybe a picture of the hotel room, a funny story about a coworker, or a complaint about long meetings. But this time, silence. I waited, checking my phone more than I cared to admit. Then, late that night, a message finally came through. "Hey, long day. Just heading to bed now. Talk tomorrow?" Short, distant, cold. That wasn't like her. A gut feeling told me to check something I never had a reason to before, her location. We had shared our locations a long time ago, back when things were easy, when we trusted each other without question. I opened the app, expecting to see a hotel miles away. Instead, I saw something that made my stomach drop. She wasn't in another city. She was right here, in town. I stared at the screen, hoping it was a glitch. Maybe her phone had died and it was showing an old location. But no, her dot moved. It was active. And worse, it was nowhere near her office. I needed proof. I needed something undeniable. I called an old friend who worked security at one of the hotels her company usually booked for business trips. Asked him if he could check if Rosie had checked in. 15 minutes later, I got my answer. There was no reservation under her name, no work retreat, no corporate meetings, nothing. That was the moment it all clicked. She had lied. Now, I needed to know why. I drove. I didn't even remember getting in the car, didn't feel my hands gripping the wheel. All I knew was that I had to find out for myself. I parked a few blocks away from the address her location showed. A small, upscale apartment complex, one I didn't recognize. I watched, and then I saw her, Rosie, walking out of the building. She wasn't alone. A man followed behind her. Close. Too close. The kind of closeness that wasn't casual. She laughed. Not the polite laugh she used with coworkers. Not the tired chuckle she gave me after a long day. No, this was different. Softer. Intimate. Then the final blow. He reached for her hand, and she let him. Fingers laced together like they had done this 100 times before, like they belonged to each other. I didn't confront her, not yet, because I wasn't going to let her explain this away with some excuse. I needed something more. So I followed them, and what I found, it was worse than I ever imagined. The restaurant, the stolen touches, the way they leaned into each other over candlelight, then the hotel. The same hotel she was supposed to be staying at for work. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. Instead, I made a call. Not to Rosie, but to someone who could get me the security footage. And when I finally got it, when I saw everything, frame by frame, that's when I knew. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to expose her. And what better time than her big night, her award ceremony? The night she would stand in front of her colleagues, her bosses, her friends, the people who respected her. The night she thought would be all about celebrating her success. I was about to give her an award she'd never forget. I just needed to press play. The night of her award ceremony arrived, and it should have been a night of celebration. The whole office was buzzing, everyone congratulating her on her success, her dedication, and the recognition she was about to receive. She looked stunning, radiant, like nothing had changed. But I knew the truth. I stood in the back of the venue, hidden in the shadows, watching her laugh and mingle with her colleagues. She was playing her part perfectly, the confident, accomplished woman she wanted everyone to believe she was. But deep down, I knew her confidence was just a mask, covering up the shame she didn't even know was coming. As the evening unfolded, I could feel the tension in my chest building. The anticipation of what I was about to do, what she had no idea was coming for her, was almost unbearable. The event's organizers called her name, and the award for Best Business Innovation goes to Rosie Williams. The crowd erupted in applause. She walked to the stage with that smile, the same smile she had given me countless times before. I stood there, holding my breath, watching her bask in the glow of admiration. But she had no idea that the only applause waiting for her was for the truth. As she took the stage, I slipped behind the curtains, my heart pounding in my ears. The team had already prepared everything. I had the footage, the undeniable proof, ready to be played on the big screen for everyone to see. When Rosie stepped up to the podium to give her acceptance speech, I signaled to the tech team in the back. The screen flickered for a moment. The lights dimmed slightly, and then it began. The first frame appeared. Rosie entering the hotel with him. The man I'd seen earlier. The man she had been so careful to hide. The crowd fell silent. Rosie froze, her face going pale as the video continued. The footage didn't lie. There they were, walking hand in hand through the lobby, the intimacy in their body language undeniable. I watched her face as the realization hit her. She looked around, eyes scanning the room as if she could find a way to run away, to escape this moment. But there was no escape. The footage shifted to the hotel room. I could hear her voice on the recording, laughing, her tone light-hearted, as if everything was normal, as if she wasn't betraying the man who had given her everything. She talked to him like she had talked to me in the past, like she loved him, like I was nothing. Then the video zoomed in on their embrace, their lips meeting in a kiss. A kiss that, to me, felt like a dagger to the heart. I watched her face fall, the blood draining from her cheeks as she realized the extent of what she had done. But it wasn't over. I wasn't going to let her off that easy. I signaled again, and the video switched to the security footage I had gotten from the apartment complex. The same apartment she had been at just days before her work trip. I saw them again, Rosie and the man. They were close, too close. She leaned into him, whispering something in his ear. He laughed, kissing her forehead like she was his. And in that moment, I saw everything. The woman who had claimed to love me, the woman who had made promises, had been living a double life, lying, sneaking around, all while I worked tirelessly to help her build her career, to support her in every way I could. The crowd was silent. Some people looked at each other, confused, unsure of what they were witnessing, but others, those who had known Rosie, were beginning to piece it together. I saw her try to speak, her mouth opening, but no words came out. She was trapped in the moment, exposed in front of everyone. She turned to the host, a desperate plea in her eyes. "James, please, this isn't what it looks like. I can explain." But I wasn't going to let her explain. Not here, not now. "Don't bother," I said, my voice carrying through the microphone. "This is exactly what it looks like, and no amount of words will change that." The room was dead silent now. Every eye was on her. She looked around, searching for someone to stand by her, but no one did. They were all too shocked, too stunned by what they had just witnessed. The video ended, and the screen went black, but the damage was already done. I watched her face crumble, the weight of the truth settling in. She couldn't deny it anymore. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt, fear, and disbelief. And in that moment, I felt nothing for her but emptiness. All the love, all the years of support were gone in an instant. The woman I had trusted, the woman I had sacrificed everything for, had chosen someone else. The crowd began to murmur. Whispers spread like wildfire. Rosie's colleagues, her friends, people she had built her career with, were beginning to turn their backs on her. It was over. As the whispers grew louder, I turned and walked out of the venue. I didn't need to hear any more. I didn't need to see the aftermath. I had already seen enough. The minutes that followed felt like hours. I could still hear the buzz of the crowd in the background as I walked down the hall, my footsteps echoing through the now quiet venue. Behind me, I could hear the frantic whispers growing louder, some of them reaching my ears. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to be part of their gossip, their shocked expressions. I didn't want to see the pity on their faces. But the worst part? The worst part was that I didn't need their reactions to feel the sting. I already knew. I already felt it. The betrayal, the pain, the anger. It had been there all along, even before the video started rolling. The difference now? It was out in the open. There was no denying it anymore. When I reached the exit, I stopped. I stood still for a moment, just letting the cool night air hit my skin. The truth was now hanging in the air between us, between me and Rosie. No more lies, no more secrets. But there was one thing left to do. I didn't know where she was right now. She could be begging for forgiveness. She could be crying, devastated by the humiliation, or she could be trying to salvage what was left of her reputation. It didn't matter. All I cared about was moving forward. It was time to let go. I glanced at my phone. I had a few missed calls from her, but I wasn't ready to answer. Not yet. I sat down in my car, the weight of everything pressing on my chest. I couldn't bring myself to turn the key. I wasn't ready to leave just yet. And then the texts started rolling in. Rosie, please, James. I need to talk to you. Please don't leave. Rosie, you don't understand. This wasn't supposed to happen. I made a mistake. Rosie, I love you. I do. Please just let me explain. Her words were just that. Words. Empty words. There was no love left in those texts. No sincerity. Only guilt and regret. And I couldn't hear it. Not anymore. I deleted the messages without responding. This wasn't just a mistake, I realized. This wasn't some small slip-up that could be forgiven. She had made a conscious choice. Every action, every lie, every hidden message, she had chosen that path. And now, it was time for me to choose mine. I wasn't going to waste any more time on someone who thought I was less important than whatever it was she had with him. The next few days were a blur. Word spread quickly about the incident at the award ceremony. Rosie's colleagues, the people who once admired her, were now calling her out. Her social media posts were flooded with angry comments, messages of betrayal, and questions about her loyalty. I didn't check any of it. I didn't need to. What hit hardest was not the public fallout, though that was certainly swift, but the personal loss. We had built a life together, a life I had invested in, dreams, plans, trips we'd talked about for years. And now, it was all gone. The future I had imagined with Rosie was nothing but a shattered illusion. But in that destruction, I felt a strange relief. There was no more wondering, no more second-guessing, no more keeping quiet while the truth festered in the dark. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. I didn't respond to her. I didn't pick up any of her calls. I didn't listen to her pleading messages. She had chosen her path. And now, I was choosing mine. I know some of you are watching this, and you might be thinking, what would I do if I was in James's shoes? Or maybe you've been through something like this yourself. I get it. I really do. Because I know how hard it is to let go. I know the pain of betrayal, of trusting someone with your heart, only to find out that trust was shattered. But here's the thing. You have to take your power back. Don't let someone else's choices define your worth. Don't let them control your happiness, your future, your peace. If you're in a relationship and you feel like something's off, listen to that gut instinct. Don't ignore the signs. Don't wait until it's too late, like I did. You deserve someone who respects you, who chooses you. And if you've been betrayed, just remember, you're not alone. There's a whole community of people who understand the pain, the confusion, the heartbreak. You don't have to go through it in silence. Take back your peace. Take back your life. Because no one, not even the person you love, should ever make you feel like you're not enough. If this story resonates with you, I want to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below. Have you ever been in a situation where trust was broken? How did you handle it? Let's support each other in the journey of healing and moving on. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. If you want to hear more about what happened next, how I moved on, and what I learned from this whole mess, hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss it, because sometimes the hardest part isn't letting go of the person you love. It's letting go of the version of the future you thought you were going to have. But in the end, it's the only way to move forward. Stay strong, everyone. You've got this.